You will never amount to anything. We shall see, brother.
All right, what's going on, YouTubers? This is Zen from Zen World, and I hope you're having a great day. So we are picking up with Maestro number 2 by Peter David, German Peralta, Dave Kwan, Jesus Abertov, Jason Keith. And last time when we were just kind of doing a rundown for this book, it basically Hulk was going through a mental scape where he didn't know where things were real or not, and come to find out they weren't real. And AIM, Idea Mechanics, and this is far into the future, alludes to a planetary shift in the sense where many of Earth's cities have been annihilated. And who have they been annihilated from? They've been annihilated by the people who were in power, right? And this understanding is given by none other than MODOK, right? An older version of MODOK, because again, this is in the future. And he's telling the Hulk all of this, and Hulk is in a little bit of disbelief, and MODOK wants him to be a part of something, right? Or to stay with them. But the Hulk is like, no. So if you want to get more of a rundown on that, watch my previous video that I'll link in. Somewhere in this video, right? It should be popping up probably as I say this. And you're able to go back and then to review. But we're picking up here, and the Hulk is basically kind of recollecting, right, or recalling everything that MODOK has said to him about the state of the planet, right? And the Hulk, we see the Hulk go into many different places, right? He goes to Nevada, he just goes to a whole bunch of places, right, leading all up to Las Vegas. And one of the things is that he's saying is that, like, he's able to see all of the stupidity from humanity, that they were the undoing. They were basically the undoing to themselves, right? From all this war and bombs and things of that nature. And he goes and sees animals that are just kind of like corpsed animals, and it's just a dystopian type world, right? Kind of think like Mad Max, right? Where everything is just like messed up, and he doesn't really know what's going on. And come to find out, as he's going from place to place, he's trying to find a person named the Maestro, which is really interesting because the name of the book is Maestro, and we know that the Hulk eventually becomes Maestro, and this is the origins of him, right? So as he's going from city to city, he then comes to a place where, he's doing his Hulk jump really high in the air, and he starts to feel his energy kind of just waver, wander and waver, and he just kind of plummets back down, right? And he realized that he needs some kind of sustenance, that he needs to just kind of chill for a little bit, right? He can't just keep moving and moving. He needs his body to kind of recharge, rejuvenate, right? The gamma radiation that is housing his body, right? And as he's getting up, he sees what looks like kind of like a mutated version of roaches, right, or locusts. But he quotes the word roaches, right? That they're the ones that are going to survive after all the the bombing and stuff of that nature, right? We always hear that quote, like, roaches can basically survive anything, right? And in this case, you see a whole bunch of them, flying versions, right? And they're flying at the Hulk, and we see this blast that comes from another gentleman and his crew, and it blasts like all of them in terms of like a sonic type of blast, and it hurts them, right? So the Hulk knocks out, right? Because remember, it's not because of the flying roaches or anything of that nature. He's just depleted, right, of all energy. And he is kind of he's bitten up, right, by those flying roaches, or which looks like cicadas and things of that nature, but it is roaches. And they bring him back to their their spot, and he wakes up. The Hulk wakes up, and he is healed, and he kind of explains to the guy like, yeah, this is, this is what my body does. And there's no hard feelings or anything. It's just like, they start to talk after, and then the gentleman alludes to like who is basically controlling the inner city, right? The inner city, in reference into where the Hulk wants to go. And he's like, the Maestro. And he's like, I heard about this guy. And the Maestro seems to be this god, right? And it's just kind of weird, because as he's going to, I believe it's Las Vegas, right? I have to go back and check. I believe it's Las Vegas. He kind of, the Hulk, right, or Bruce, recollects all of the points of where he's been, right, in the sense of who he's been, all the different names that he's had, right, over time. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, it's a little correction. It's not Nevada, right? I was referencing Las Vegas a little bit earlier, but he's going to a place called Dystopia. Dystopia is New York City in this case, right? After the fall of events, right? And we get a cutscene, not a cutscene, but we get a panel shift, right? A story panel shift to what seems to be Professor X, right? Which is pretty cool, because Professor X, if this is Professor X rather, right? His granddaughter, right? It seems to be his granddaughter, comes in, and then she's like, there's something I need to tell you. He's back, right? And he's like, who's back? That green guy that you used to love. And then he's like, Oscar the Grouch. And then she's like, no, the big hulking guy, right? And he's like, the Hulk? So it's kind of interesting, because number one, in the same panel, you see kind of like and you know what, it seems like it's Professor X, but we know it's not Professor X just because of the hair. The gentleman who's here is an older gentleman, and he has hair. And in the background, there's a lot of just different things that former heroes used to be or used to have, right? We see the helmet of Magneto. We see the skeleton of our boy Wolverine. We see the head of Warlock, right, which is part of the Phalanx. And and if you look, there's a lot of cookies in here, right? Little Easter eggs. The first chair of Professor X, the hammer of Thor, so many different things that you see in the background, so that if you really get close, you'll be able to like pinpoint different things. And then we get a scene, we skip back into Dystopia, and Dystopia again is kind of like New York City, but there's a lot of people here, right? But there's a big digression into where everything is, right? And the Hulk kind of says that, he's like, wow, like humanity has really fallen in the evolutionary kind of scale, right? They've gone backwards instead of forward. And as he's going through the city, he then comes across a guy called the Minister, right? And he says, I'm the Minister. And he says, the Maestro that, basically the Hulk was looking for this Maestro, right? This god of the city. And the Minister says, I will bring you, I've been, being called here basically to fetch you. And the Minister brings him to this place, which it looks kind of it looks beautiful, right? It's this place that seems to have everything. But it also looks Olympian in the sense of just kind of old school, right? There's servants there. There are kind of guards that have what seems like Olympian armor, right? And we hear this guy, right, who is the Maestro, and the Minister says, Maestro, your visitor is here. And we hear this guy says, is it him? And the Minister says, I believe it is. And then from the other side of the curtain, you hear this guy say, Banner. And then we get the next and last final panel, and you see Hercules, and he's like, it's been an age. So apparently the Maestro is At least right now, the Maestro is is Hercules, and the next comic is named The Incredible Hercules. So Hercules looks well. He looks strong, right? And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see. Now there's this book concludes at that last panel, but then there's like a mini story within the book, which I'm gonna do a quick rundown for too. Might as well, right? It's only a couple of pages. So, and it's really cool because that girl who I thought was Professor X's grandchild, right? Which we know is not Professor X. The reason why I call him Professor X, or mistakenly called him that earlier, is because when we see him in the couple of panels, he is in Professor X's chair, right? But why we don't know who it is, but why I'm saying that it's not Professor X is because he does have hair, right? Again, I could be wrong. Where they unveil it is Professor X. But again, I just think it's an older gentleman, an elderly gentleman who is just using the chair because it floats in the air. Makes sense. I would use it too. You know what I mean? But then we get this little story called Relics, and it's 1 out of 3, right? So the same kid that we saw earlier, an older version, right? Her name is Janice, right? So we have Janice and another character, and what they're doing is just scavenging dystopia, right? Or just places in general for their grandpa, right? Who we're not too sure who is yet. This is them when they were little kids, and they're looking for relics of items. And some of the relics that they find, number one is Captain America's shield, but they also see Thor's hammer. So as one of the kids is starting to try to attempt to lift the hammer, right? He's lifting it. He's really trying really hard. And then Janice walks over to the hammer and she just lifts it up. She lifts it up with ease, right? And she's like, it's like nothing to her, right? And then he's like, or I'm not too sure if it's a girl or a guy, the other kid, is basically saying like, whoa, that's pretty impressive. I wonder if it has any power. And then we get this next panel where the energy, right, of Thor, right, the lightning comes down and it's pretty epic. And then we kind of get a, inner monologue, right, that just basically states the weird thing is that I thought Gramps would be thrilled to see this. Instead, he told me to put it down and never touch it again, right? So apparently, Janice is worthy to hold Thor's hammer, but we're not too sure, again, what it is that he's doing, right? Why they're collecting these items for Gramps. And that's all we know who he is Gramps, right? We don't know if he's Professor X for real, or he's just an old guy who likes to collect items, right? I'm more inclined to just think he's a collector, right? And these kids, they may have abilities or not, or they're just scavengers, right? They may just be scavengers who are more inclined to scavenge for relics of the olden days superheroes, right? But overall, I did enjoy that mini story. It was only about 2 pages, but I did enjoy it, and I enjoyed Maestro. It was a lot better than, well, I think it was par on par, right, with number 1 in terms of my excitement. But I'm looking forward to reading number 3 when it drops. So this is Zen from Zen World saying peace, love, and prosperity. If you enjoy my content, drop me a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you all later on the next one. Take care, everyone.